school in LA. She has been an animator for Warner Brothers, where she's worked on Scooby-Doo, is that right?
Yes. Oh, wow.
She is currently working with Disney as an animator. She also said, and these are from her own words, she's a storyboard artist for Disney television animation. A storyboard artist takes a script and creates sequential drawings to tell the story visually for film. Storyboards are the step between script and the final animation. And she graduated from Art Center College of Design. And so let's be respectful. Let's show her Seeker pride and how we are. And let's give her a warm welcome. Thank you.
Excited to talk to you all. You know, when I was your age, like I didn't really know a whole lot of animation, so I really would have loved it to meet people who worked in the industry, so that it would have made my path a lot easier and faster. But yeah, I'm a storyboard artist. I'm going to kind of go over a little bit of how that job is and what I do, and also the other animation jobs that go into making a animated TV show. So I'm a storyboard artist, and this is kind of an example of what I do. I take a script, and I'm the one that has to figure out visually how the story is going to be told. Like, I have to make the characters act. I have to decide what types of shots I'm going to use. Like, am I doing an up shot, or am I doing a down shot, or is everything eye level? I have to make all those decisions, and then those storyboards get sent to animators, and they fully animate the thing, and they kind of go off of my guidelines. So, just kind of show you guys, you know, the other jobs that are in the industry. So I work on a show called Elena of Avalor. It's for Disney Junior. So this is an example of one of our character design sheets. Now we have a really talented character designer. She comes up with what all of these characters look like, and on top of that she does extra sketches of, like, you know, to give me an idea of the personality of the character. Like, what does Elena look like when she smiles? What does she look like when she's, you know, sad? I need to know this information because it tells me who she is as a person, because I need to make her act. So that's kind of the job of the character designer. And then we also have 3D modelers. And our show is 3D. There's two different types of animated shows. There's 2D and 3D. So our show, we need to take two-dimensional drawings, and we need people who understand Maya and programs like ZBrush to create an actual puppet of the characters that the animators can then take and move them around and animate them. So it's almost like they're being a puppeteer. So we have people who specially do that. We also have people who just design outfits. Like, Elena always has like a different outfit for a lot of every episode. So we have people who just, like, that's just their job. What does the costumes look like? We have prop designers. We have people who, it's their job to figure out what all the objects look like, especially if a character is holding it or using it. Like, we've got Elena's guitar here. They have to figure out, like, what type of guitar is it? What do the designs look like on the top? Is that reminiscent of the style of our show? So they figure that out. They also figure out special effects. Like, our show is, it takes place in a magical world. So we need to know, like, well, we have Zuzo here, who's this magical fox who can disappear and go in and out of reality. So we're like, what does that look like? How does it reinforce the design sense of our show? Like, our show is very Latin inspired, so we want to know what kind of repetitive shapes reoccur in that, you know, in that culture that we can reproduce here. So it's their job to figure that kind of stuff out. We also have background designers. People have to figure out what the locations look like. We have painters who have to paint those locations. We even have people, it's just their job to decide what color things are. They're called color stylists. So there's like tons of different artistic jobs that go into making an animated series. But like I said, my favorite is still storyboarding, because I like to make the characters act. I like to tell the story. I don't like being focused on just one image. Like, I really want to see these things come to life. So what I do is, I'm not only making tons of drawings, but I'm actually kind of doing a rough animation of it. I'm making these things called animatics, where I actually get the audio of the voice actors, and I put that into my storyboards, and that kind of plays it out, and I do just like a rough animation. And I usually have this thing called a story pitch, where they give me a certain amount of time to work on it, and then I have to pitch it to my show creator, to my directors, to the art director, to the producers, and they have to chime in and tell me what they want me to fix or what they want me to change. And it's kind of a revisionist process, but eventually, I get to a point where they really like it, and then it gets sent off to animation. So real quick, I'm going to show you a couple of animatics that I did, and this is an example of some of the characters I worked with in these animatics. So Elena's got this best friend, her name's Naomi, and she's like this really rough and tumble chick. Like her parents are sailors, she was brought up on a ship. She's not the most ladylike person, but it's her birthday, and Elena wants to throw her a birthday party at the palace. Well, suddenly everybody else is like, oh, she can't have a royal birthday party. She doesn't know how to behave. And her cousin Esteban is like super pouty and just like, no, she is not royal enough. But he decides that he's going to help teach Naomi how to be royal and how to dance and how to curtsy and all this stuff. So every episode we have a song. And that's one of my favorite things to board, because I love boarding to music. So in this particular song, we're showing Naomi transform. We're showing Esteban teach her how to be royal and like worthy of being in the palace. And she's learning and she's getting better at it. But then there's a problem. Her head starts getting bigger. She starts thinking, no, everything must be the best for me and everything must be big and wonderful. And she's slowly losing a little bit of her character. And Elena is kind of sad, like, oh, my friend's changing. So there's a lot of things that I had to show in this montage. It's showing Naomi progress, showing her start to be corrupted by Esteban, and showing Elena be sad about that. And that's kind of a lot of information I had to work with. So I'm going to show you really quick. Why is this doing this? I'm going to show you that how that song turned out.
Now, Miss Turner, the waltz is the heart of the royal quinceañera. Imagine the kingdom's finest orchestra playing just for you.
Breaks off the mop head, throws the mop head, hits Higgins in the face.
Why, thank you, Chancellor. I bet I look almost as old as you now.
What's with the water buckets? Ugh. You had to ask.
Is this not how you carry water on a ship?
Yeah, but we're not on a ship.
I cannot put anything past you, Miss Turner. Now, chin up, shoulders back, stomach in, arms up, elbows out. Perfect.
It doesn't feel perfect.
There.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Whoa, no.
I told you to bring an umbrella.
Sorry.
Stop thinking about the steps and start thinking about how you keep your balance when you are on a moving ship.
Okay.
And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hey, look at you.
I think I'm getting the hang of it.
Yes, we are waltzing. Now, practice your greeting.
I am delighted. You were invited. Extremely excited to be reunited.
There is hope for you yet, Miss Turner. You're doing well, I must confess. Perhaps the ball won't be a mess. Let the others sneer and scoff. You and I might pull this off. You are growing and you're glowing. Your potential's finally showing. You will shine, you'll have it all. You'll be the bright light of the ball. No, this simply will not do. Haven't you the faintest clue? It must be better than the rest. A bright light needs the very best.
No, this simply will not do. Haven't you the faintest clue? It has to be a perfect night so I can be the brightest light.
Jeez. No. It is perfect.
I want it.
Are you sure? It has a lot of ruffles, the rufflier the better. Her dress must be the fanciest of them all.
The fanciest at the ball. I'm surprising, I'm upsizing. My star is clearly rising. I will shine, I'll have it all. I'll be the bright light of the ball.
The brightest light.
Outshine them all.
The bright light of the ball.
So that's like an example of like a rough storyboard. I had essentially 2 weeks to work on it. What they did was they gave me a script with the lyrics, and they gave me that temporary song. That wasn't the actual actors. That was our composer, who like makes a quick temporary track for us. And then the showrunner sat down with me, and he told me a few of the things he wanted to see, but the rest of it was up to me. So I had to like hurry up. I had to do all this referencing for it, because I've seen people dance, but I've never seen, like, I don't really know really where the feet go, where their hands go. I had to like go on YouTube and look up a lot of like waltzing, like figuring out where the feet go. And I also was referencing a lot of movies. That's another big thing for storyboard artists. We always want to see what other film, what directors and other board artists are working on, because we're all kind of problem solvers. We're all trying to find a way to solve the problem of like, how do we communicate visually? So I was looking up Beauty and the Beast. I was looking up My Fair Lady, which is one of my favorite movies. Just to anything that kind of fit in that world, I was like, okay, I'm going to reference that. I'm going to look it up as I'm coming up with ideas. And I'm also throwing in my own ideas here and there, like we were sitting there talking, and my showrunner's like, you really need to show like Elena being sad somehow, and we don't know. So I thought, well, Naomi she changes her dress, her outfit. What if Elena's kind of standing there looking sad, looking at, Naomi's old outfit, and they loved it. They were like, yes, that actually really solves that problem. It shows like that transformation happening. So I'm putting in all these different things to it. There's a lot that's going into it. So I ran it through them. They loved it. There were just a few notes, and I had like 2 more weeks after that to apply notes and make any kind of changes they needed. But that was the final animatic that eventually got sent over, and now we're getting animation back. And it's fun because my director's like pulling me into his office. He's like, look at the animation they did on Naomi. It's great. And I'm like, it's fun to see your ideas being fully formed and transformed into this final animation. But yeah, I'm going to show you another quick animatic that I did for Scooby-Doo. So this is another example of me coming up with ideas with my director. In this episode of Scooby-Doo, Fred falls in love with this farmer's daughter at a farmer's market. And I was like, we can get a joke out of this. So me and my director were like spitballing. We're like, what if he does this? What if she does that? And then finally we came up with an idea, and this is what we came up with.
Gang, over here! Man, these are the best tasting fruits and veggies I've ever eaten!
So those are the types of things that really make me love storyboarding, is just coming up with gags, coming up with ideas that, normally weren't in the script, but we're always trying to find ways to plus things. And that's a big thing with animation. We're like, we can always be better. We can always make this funnier, or we can make it scarier. So you're also adding in your own input as a storyboard artist, which I love. That's what I love doing. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick rundown of like the technology that I use in this in production when I'm at Disney. I work on this thing called a Wacom Cintiq, and it's basically a giant computer screen that I draw directly onto, and it goes right into the program. So like that's an example of the format of Storyboard Pro. It's a program that's made just for storyboard artists that we work in. It makes making TV animation storyboards much faster. They used to do it by hand, just on a piece of paper, but now we're getting more efficient. We're trying to find better ways of telling these stories. So that's essentially what I use. And occasionally I'll use Photoshop if I really need to sell an effect. but usually the designers are the ones that are using Photoshop. So yeah, that's an example of that. And now I'm just gonna kind of go over like my journey, like what I did to become a storyboard artist, where I started. I started drawing ever since I was a little kid. I loved it. I was always trying to find new ways of learning. And one of the ways to learn is through life, just watching people. And any animator will tell you this. I met with Glenn Keane once, and he was like, I'm always doing reference drawings of people. I want to see how they act, how they behave, because that informs me as an animator. And that informs any artist. So like I go to sometimes I'll just go to coffee shops and I'll draw people. But my favorite thing to do is to, up here, I go to drawing workshops where we have models who pose in different characters. Or I'll go to the zoo. I'll bring some friends. We're like practicing drawing animals, because animal anatomy is another important tool to have, because animation, there's always animal characters in that. So the more you can draw both humans and animals, the better your skills are going to be. And then I also I like to draw off of artists, and that's another important thing. Like, you're not copying, you're just learning how other artists solve a problem. Like I said, we're problem solvers. So I love Alphonse Mucha. I love comic books. Bruce Timm is one of my favorite artists. He's a great example of somebody who crossed over from comics into animation. And he's also a really great, he has a great skill of, drawing where it's really simple, but it actually tells a lot of information. Or, Mort Drucker, he's one of the old Mad Magazine cartoonists. Just all sorts of people. Or Bill Peet. I look at a lot of other animators, like the 9 Old Men. You always want to look at who started that art form that you're studying, because those are the ones that really figured it out. You want to learn from the best. Or even Calvin and Hobbes is a great tool. That's how I kind of picked up. I used to read that when I was a kid. And Bill Watterson was excellent at his skill at telling a story in a charming manner. And in fact, Disney kind of looks for people who have that kind of sensibility a little bit in the Calvin and Hobbes simple yet beautiful style. But honestly, just look at whatever artists inspire you and just go from there. Once I reached a certain point, I realized, well, I want to go to art school. Not everybody necessarily needs to do that. I've worked with people who didn't go to art school. They figured out a way around it. But what you really need is mentors. You need people around you, and I needed teachers. I could only take myself so far teaching myself. So I decided to go to the Art Center College of Design. But before that, I went to Chaffey Community College, because I didn't have a lot of money. I wanted to get my general ed out of the way, so I got that done over there. And then once I went to Art Center, I was like, all right, well, I need money. So I worked in a butcher shop, as you see up here. That helped pay for supplies and some of the tuition, but I also needed to get government loans. So I applied through FAFSA. I also got a great scholarship from Art Center. They, when you apply, they decide based on your financial need how much money they can award you. And I got a great scholarship that paid for half my tuition. So that really was helpful. And if you guys are interested in school, do that type of research. You don't have to pay all of the tuition. Always find ways to where you can get grants or low interest loans if you choose to do that. But I just want to remind you and hit it home, you don't have to go to an expensive art school. You just need to have that network of people around you. I needed to be around other students who were better than me, because that made me want to be better. So that's what art school kind of gave me. I got the skills that I needed, but I also got the network. And that's a big part of getting a job too. You can be the most talented person ever, but if nobody knows you and they don't know what your work ethic is like, it's harder to get hired. And that's how I got a job on Scooby. I had a friend who was working as a designer, and she overheard the line producer say, we need a board artist, and she's like, my friend Ariel can do it. And the reason she recommended me is because she knew how hard I worked, because we went to school together. We're not just trying to do favors for our friends. We're just oh, I remember you were always on time, you always delivered, you were always, a hard worker, so I feel good about recommending you. So that's an important thing to remember. You're always going to be working with a lot of the same types of people, so always remember your reputation. Remember how people, see your work and see how you work. So yeah, that was important. So after I graduated Art Center, I graduated in 2013. I created an online portfolio. That's the first step. You've got to get your artwork out there, and when you apply for jobs, that's you know, hey, here's my portfolio, here's some samples. I also did these things called story tests. Now it's kind of light, it's hard to see up on the screen, but up there I have like an example of a story test I did for Lion Guard. And that's when they basically give you a piece of the script and they say, here you have a week, do it, turn it in, and then we'll decide if we want to hire you or not. So it sucks because it feels like you're doing work for free, but that's kind of like, you know, the thing you got to work with in order to convince somebody that you're good enough to work on that job. And I must have done like dozens of these story tests, and I was working at a butcher shop on the side the whole time. So I was like, I gotta pay my bills. So that was tough, but it's, you know, it's just one of those things that you got to work with. Now, not everybody does story tests, but that is, you know, part of the job, part of the whole entry-level process. But so anyways, yeah, I'm just gonna kind of sum up like what I love about my career. I just get to draw and tell stories all day. That's my favorite thing to do. I'm always trying to think of like, what kind of stories do I have? I'm always trying to pull from my own experience. And that's one of the most important tools you have as a storyboard artist, is your life experience. You know, no one else is like you, you know, and think about that. You can bring something to, you know, an existing production or just your own work. Something, you know, but the important thing is just keep telling your own story. Like, you know, companies want to see people who bring that to their work. And it shows that you really care and you love, you know, you love what you do. Another reason I love my career, I mean, I get to work with all of these cool characters. Some of them that have been around since my parents were kids, like Scooby-Doo and you know, Batman and Superman and stuff. And some of them are like new. Like I got to work on Elena when they were first developing it, and they weren't sure. Like, oh, I hope people like this. But that's kind of exciting to jump on a new project. You're like, oh yeah, we're really developing this person. The same thing, I worked a little bit on Future Worm in between, you know, Elena season 1 and season 2, so that was exciting. So yeah, I really love working with characters, and I love like helping to take a part in building that world. And then another great thing I love about my job is that I get to take all the information I pull from that and put it into my own work. So like down here, like I did like these character design sheets of, I decided I wanted to redo the Adam West Batman and make it like an animated sort of thing. And then I'm also working on a comic book that, you know, a lot of my storytelling composition skills really come in handy with that. So, and that's another important thing, is always remember to keep doing your own work. Even though you might get complacent working for a company, you have to remember that company still owns everything you make for them. But if you're making your own stuff, that's yours, and you can make money off of that, if you want to or not. But I do it for the love of it, and it's all about me wanting to tell stories. So I also want to share with you guys some books and things that helped me. So like this is like, I don't know if you guys know Batman the Animated Series, the original. This is one of my favorite books, and a great thing is that these things help teach you, you know, oh, this is what, you know, they're kind of looking for. This is what, you know, storyboards kind of, you know, that they're interested in, you know, and these are just really great examples. And that's another way I taught myself, which is I poured over books. You know, I have like Pixar has been coming out with its own, you know, books here where they're like the leaders of storytelling. And they have also great examples. And that's an important thing. A lot of people want to be board artists, but they don't exactly know what companies are looking for. And this is a great insight into, okay, this is kind of, is this something that I like, and is this something I can do? And then you can just follow the guidelines there. Or you can just look up, you know, these animation books, these art of books. I never had these when I was a kid, and I wish I did. Because they tell you, they literally are a guide of just like, hey, this is what Disney wants, or this is what, you know, Feature wants, or this is, you know, this is the kind of stuff that you can use to teach yourself with. And you can go to the library, go wherever you want. You can go online. There's tons of like online tutorials, or Pinterest. I'm always like looking up Pinterest because there's some great tutorials. There's a Pinterest page that I follow called Character Design References, and they have everything you could possibly draw there, right there, in even tutorials. Like, hey, this is how you do this. You know, I didn't have this when I was your guys' age, so I think that's why I went into going to an art school. But now you guys have art school online, or you can, you know, look up tutorials yourself. So take advantage of that. Really see where that takes you, because that might be all you really need. So, so yeah, that's what I have to say. I don't know if you guys want to see more animatics because I have a few more things, or if you want if you have any questions right now.